the crossover point for me, from whether it was from assistant to engineer or engineer to producer, oddly happened all in the same moment. Not credited as such or paid as such, but again, I was working at Kingsway in New Orleans. Dan Lanois owned the place, Malcolm Byrne and Mark Howard, producers and engineers who obviously worked with Dan a lot and did their own projects, and I was just a kid. But if Malcolm hired me to be the assistant on a record, he was always playing. So I had to engineer. There was nobody else at the board. So then I'm engineering. Well, Malcolm's the engineer, but I'm actually engineering. And then they want to go out to dinner and they want me to cut the masters together, but nobody's told me what takes to use, so they're left me to choose the master pieces and cut it together. Therefore, I'm producing. And they didn't come back in. I mean, they just expected me creatively to handle it, and I did. So at that point, again, I wasn't being called a producer, but I was acting out the role of producer. And by the time an artist actually came to me and said, look, will you produce a record with me? I had already done an enormous amount of what would be production, so I very confidently could say, yeah, hell yeah, because I know how to edit tape, I know how to determine a master for the most part, I know how to run a session, I know how to coach vocals, I know how to talk about arrangements, because I'd always been invited by Malcolm and Mark and Dan to be part of that. They didn't draw a line. They drew a line, but it was a psychological line. It wasn't a work-enforced line. It was, you got an idea, you holler out. We want to hear it, we want to record it, we want to use it. There were lines drawn. I'm not saying that I sat around and produced with Dan, but he allowed me to become a producer. And so there was never any time when it's like, okay, your first production has arrived. What are you going to do? You know, there'd been so many of them before that.